Alrighty, guys, we're going to give everybody a couple seconds to get connected here while the stream stabilizes itself. And I can get my comment window open because I want to be able to see what you're asking me when you ask it. All right. So, welcome into the Aftershock. We'll give everybody a couple seconds to get connected here. But in the meantime, what do you all want to talk about today? I've got a couple things that are on the agenda, but news is thin right now, guys. I mean, I was really thrilled to have the show today that we had because last week, literally, I had one news story coming into the show, and the rest of the show, I'm like, I mean, I could talk about products and services the whole time. It's probably a great marketing move, but probably not a great entertaining radio show, which we try to do both, obviously. The whole point of the program is to market Schrock Innovations products and services so that you can recommend them to your friends and family and understand what they are. And the long-form radio gives us time to explain things in a little more detail that we can't do in a 30 or 60-second spot. Also, when you buy a large number of minutes, they're cheaper than if you buy them one at a time. So anyway, it's fun stuff to do the show, and we want to make sure it's entertaining because otherwise people won't listen to it. And what good is marketing in a show that's not entertaining? So, we try to bring a few views that are a little bit more in-depth than what you would get normally from the media sources that you might listen to. The Aftershock is where we put all the stuff that doesn't quite make the main program. It might have been because it wasn't exactly something we could get into. Maybe it's not entirely fact-based. Maybe there's a little conjecture going on in there. Or, honestly, maybe it just doesn't fit with what Schrock Innovations does, and therefore it doesn't fit in the radio show. So, let's take a look and see what's going on. Howdy, Chris. Aaron, good to have you back. Hey, Thor, got you on the radio in the garage. Hey, Carla, thank you. I don't know why you're hanging out in the garage, though. I mean, did you do something wrong? It's kind of cold this morning. Unless you're maybe not in Nebraska. Maybe you're someplace warmer. That could be. It'll be 72 here on Wednesday. My Bitcoin miners. Okay, so fun fact. When you have Bitcoin miners, right now they're all facing, their intake is facing the outside air intake, where the air comes into the mine. The cooler air, right? Even if it's 100 degrees outside, that mine is 30 degrees hotter than the outside air. But if the air gets too cold outside, as it gets cooler, the miners actually become more efficient, which is great. They use less energy, they make more Bitcoin, it's awesome stuff. But if the air gets too cold, then it becomes like a diesel truck, where as long as it's running and warm, you're fine. But if you turn it off, or if it has to reboot for some reason, it gets cold and it won't start because the start temperature is too low. So when it gets below freezing, we actually take the miners on the rack and we turn them so the intake is on the other side of the room, and we're exhausting the hot air toward the cold air intake, with the theory being if we're bringing in 30-degree air and we're exhausting 60-degree air, the air will mix and make 40-degree air. Woohoo! 45-degree air. And that's perfect for the miners. They love that. So, yeah, I can't do that when one day it's flipping snowing and the next day it's 72 degrees. I gotta leave. So yeah, it's very frustrating. I wish the weather would make up its mind and just become a season already. I know that in Nebraska we have all 4 seasons, and that's a great reason to live here. I just didn't expect to have all 4 seasons in 1 week. But then again, if you don't like the weather, just wait a week and it'll change, right? All right, Richard's on board. Mitch is here. Ron, the local radio station said the radars were monitoring debris from tornadoes at 35,000 feet. Isn't that insane, guys? The destruction from those tornadoes, just phenomenal. Just awe-inspiringly phenomenal. And a reminder that I don't know, this can get controversial, but of course humans can impact the environment around us. Of course we can. Of course we can impact things even as much as the climate, potentially. But never believe that we can control anything. Because that storm system, that was beyond control. There was no controlling that. That was going to happen. Doesn't matter how warm it was, doesn't matter how cold it was, how much CO2 we pump in the air, how much methane the cows fart out. Doesn't matter. I mean, that, what do you say? Geez. Destroyed entire towns. Just My heart goes out to those people who were impacted by that, and there was a lot of people who were impacted. It's a miracle that the loss of life wasn't worse, to be brutally honest. All right. Karen's back. Coffee mug is full. All right. Roger and Karen are here. Did you decide on a name for the computer subscription program? That is an excellent question. No, I have not. I have not. Do you have any suggestions? I'm open. Because I honestly... So we got the contract finalized. So we have the contract in place for the computer subscription thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we're talking about computers as a service. So here's a problem. Next year, we're going to have to raise prices on computers, guys. We're going to have to do it. We're making so much less per computer right now than we were before, and we weren't making a ton before. But now, after we take marketing costs into account, we're actually losing money on every computer that we sell. And we're going to keep it this way through the holiday season. This is a high demand season. We want to get our computers in the hands of as many people as possible to retain them as customers for the long term. But then next year, just like everybody else, we're going to have to raise the prices. It won't be a huge increase, but it will be an increase. We only make about $50 on a computer as it stands anyway. So, I mean, it's like I said, it's not going to be a huge increase, but it will be an increase. It'll bring us in line with everybody else around us, so it won't be an out-of-line thing. The computer subscription program is our answer to this. Imagine that you pay a fixed price every month for the use of a computer, and you're not paying for the depreciation of the computer. So the way leasing works is, you lease a vehicle and you pay the amount of the vehicle, the value that you're going to use up. Which I wonder how when you turn the vehicle back in, you probably make money right now. But with computers, however, the depreciation, it's not like, oh, you're only using 60% of the vehicle. When you're done with a computer, nobody wants it. You can't sell it online. You can maybe break it down for parts, and maybe if you put them up on eBay and you had the exact part number that somebody else needed, like someone like Schrock needed to fix somebody else's really, really old computer that shouldn't get fixed, but they're really dead set on fixing it for some reason, and we can't get the part new anywhere, then you might be able to sell the parts from your old computer. Maybe. If you hold on to them long enough. We tried it at Schrock. We thought, hey, we could try this. It's not worth it. It's totally not worth it. Not worth the effort, not worth the pictures, not worth the management, not worth the communications, not worth the returns, not worth it. So anyway, you're not going to get anything for your old junked out computer. So the challenge is, at Schrock, we build our computers differently. We build them modular, which means the parts inside the computers are cross-compatible, and that they can be used for a longer period of time, up to 10 years, before the technology is completely obsoleted to the point where it's irrelevant. In that scenario, it makes a little bit of sense for Schrock to offer a computer service where you pay $25 a month, $30 a month, something like that. You get a computer. If it breaks, we fix it for free. You have a warranty the entire time. You don't have to purchase the warranty. You don't have to worry about refunding the warranty. You just have it. If you choose to use our antivirus software, you can purchase that, or you can provide your own. So we're not taking any of your freedom away to choose what you do with your computer. You just will never own the computer. It's kind of like your converter box that you have from the cable company. You don't actually own that. You pay every month for it, but you don't own it. But without it, you can't get your cable service, right? Well, with these computers, you're not going to have the unexpected repair costs. You're not going to have to pay for any of the depreciation in the computer because we're going to absorb all of that. And then at the end of your term, which is usually about 2 years, at the end of your 2-year term, if you want to keep the computer, you can just keep using it, keep paying the monthly fee. Or if you want the newest, hottest, greatest Schrock-built computer, you can just trade it in for the next model in line. We'll complete your rental agreement, basically, start a new one. And then we transfer all your stuff over just like we would for any other new customer buying a computer, and you go. So our original plan was to launch this in January. We have softened that position a bit to say we're going to launch it in the first quarter. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, chip shortage. Right now, if we buy all the parts for these computers, it is going to be incredibly difficult to rent them at a reasonable price because the construction costs are that much higher right now. It's just not going to work. So, I mean, it would work, but the price would be $35, $40 instead of $25, $30. I mean, it would not work for people, especially people who are looking to save money. This would not be a good way to do that. Unless, of course, you believe that the price of things is going to continue to go up going forward. There is some indication that some of that could happen, but there is a significant cache of computer parts in those ships off the West Coast. If we wait another month to 45 days, those prices could come down significantly, and we would be back on track again to buy a quantity of parts and have identical parts, as opposed to right now, like with the holiday special laptops. Some of them are HPs, some of them are Asus. They're both great computers. Both the parts are all made by the same companies, but they're not the same. The parts aren't interchangeable. If we have one that comes in with a broken screen, for example, and one that comes in with a scratch on the bezel, I can't swap the screen and the bezel to get one defective unit and one whole unit. We just can't. We can't do that. And then a lot of the efficiencies in the modular system come from using the same parts over a long period of time. That way I don't have to keep a huge supply of replacement parts on hand. I can keep one or two motherboards, one or three processors. I can just keep the bare minimum stuff in each service center, and we can really project a huge service footprint with a very minimal inventory. So that's one of the big advantages to doing everything with a modular computer or the solid state laptop. So anyway, that's the whole idea. We're softening the stance a little bit to say we're going to launch it in the first quarter of 2022. So we have some internal stuff we have to do. With our online system was designed to sell computers, not to rent computers. So we have to create some custom code for ourselves that will allow us to, the deposit, for example, will be 20% of the value of the computer as you design it. So you can order a custom computer and still do the purchase agreement on it. So whatever the computer price is, 20% is the deposit you'll put down. That deposit is held until you turn the computer back in, and then it's credited back to you. The monthly payment is, I believe it was 4% of the price of the computer, whatever that price is. So we have the formulas all figured out. We just have to code the formulas into the Schrock system so that, number one, the payments are automated. You have to have automated payments. We're not going to be taking checks every month and trying to process that. So we're going to need a card. Number two, eventually we are going to implement credit checks and things like that, because in the future that could become a problem. In the beginning, we're only going to open the program to established Schrock Innovations customers, so people who have done business with Schrock in the past. Those people will be able to, existing customers will be able to take advantage of the offer. It's kind of a test, and if it goes well, if customers receive it well, and if we don't have a lot of computers walking away, where we have such a huge loss or anything, that's one of the biggest fears that we have is shrinkage, basically the loss of the computers, and no payments and the computer disappears. And then that's a problem because we can't really just go get the computer back, right? So once we go through that with our most trusted customers, if everything is working well, then we're going to slowly loosen those standards up a little bit to customers who are new to Schrock. And at that point, we don't want to become Blue Hippo. We really don't. We don't want to become Ace Rent-A-Center. And I'm not saying those places are bad. I'm just saying that we want to be able to maintain the service standard that we have at Schrock. We cannot do that as a low-cost leader. So we have to, and how does that impact with rentals? The number of rentals that are non-performing, let's say, if that gets too high, your overall revenue drops, which could make us a low-cost leader. When revenue drops, you can either raise your prices or you can provide less service. We can't raise our prices on people who are paying fixed prices on a 2-year contract, so you see the math there. We don't want to get in that scenario, so that's why we're going to roll it out slowly. We're going to roll it out with limited models at first, no custom computers at first, and then over time, we're going to expand and loosen the restrictions to include more and more things to make it more attractive to a wider selection of candidates, basically. So that's the plan, but it will be in the first quarter, but probably not in January just because of the supply chain stuff that's going on. Let's see here. Hello, Schrockville from Pierre, South Dakota. Hello, Deborah. Cinnamon rolls on the table. Oh, man, I'm jealous. Open Office or Libre? Libre, 100%. Mitch, I would go Libre Office. Open Office is a dead project. Everybody that was good on Open Office left Open Office for Libre Office. Also, Libre Office opens more documents, different document types than Open Office does. What do I think of the U.com search engine? I've never heard of it. I'll take a look at it, but I've never heard of U.com. Let's see. Good morning, Loanne. Good morning, Winston. Thank you for the audio check. I appreciate it. Paul's here. Don, can Schrock Innovations recycle, or is there value in old compact keyboards? Keyboards are one of the things that actually are the least valuable for recycling purposes. The only thing in a keyboard that is of any value whatsoever is the actual cord, which is why when you see them recycled, you'll never see them with cords. People snip the cord in the cord recycling, because that is copper, and then the rest of the keyboard is all plastics. The plastics get ground up and they're used for landfill liners that protect the groundwater and everything from things getting through out of the landfill. It's basically they're made into giant Ziploc bags for landfills is what it amounts to. And you pay to have those recycled. We do. So when we recycle stuff, guys, there's some stuff that's valuable, like the cords. And then there's some stuff that's not valuable, like printers or keyboards, monitors, and things like that. Some of the stuff we have to pay to get rid of. Monitors, all-in-ones, they cost us by the pound. So we charge just a flat rate of $15 per unit because I'm not going to sit there with a scale and weigh your monitor. That's stupid. So sometimes we lose and people bring in a 27-inch Trinitron and we're like, oh, well, it's going to cost us like $40 to get rid of that. And sometimes people bring in a flat screen 19-inch monitor and we win and it comes out in the wash, right? Sometimes we have a lot of cable. Sometimes we have a lot of keyboards and printers that need to go. And we pay to get rid of the plastics and we get paid for the other stuff. And the objective is to hit a net zero on revenue. I mean, obviously, if we made money, we'd be okay with that. But we definitely don't want to lose money recycling. We want to make sure that it is a sustainable thing that we do, so that it's something that we can be known for doing, and we're known for doing respectfully. We're doing it right. That's really important to me, that we make sure that the stuff is getting to the recycling facilities. And I have to give credit to Parker for this. Parker has found ways and businesses that are willing to take different components. He's managed the sorting of the recycles so that we make sure we're getting the right stuff to the place that can recycle it in the best way possible. So it's not just enough that we're taking it to a certified recycling facility. We're taking it to the right certified recycling facility for the individual components that we're taking out. He's just done a phenomenal job with the recycling effort. Double shot mug, there you go. Liking that. Morning. What about lease a bit? Lease a bit? What is that, Ron? You want to lease the computer for a little while and then give it back? We've considered shorter term leases, shorter than 2 years. The reason we went with 2 years is because the expected lifespan of the components in the computer, the shortest lifespan is the power supply. If you used it continuously for 2 years, you would hit the manufacturer's expected failure time for the power supply. Most people don't use them continuously for 2 years, obviously, but that was the worst case scenario. That's why we settled on 2 years. The odds of you having a component failure in the first 2 years is pretty minimal. That's why I always encourage you to buy 3-year warranties on your computers, because that's that third year, that second and third year when stuff goes wrong. That's why everybody gives you a free first year. The second and third year is when everything goes wrong. So that's why you want to get those longer term extended warranties rather than paying for the short ones. You do get your money back when you buy the short ones from Schrock, but to buy additional warranties later is more expensive than when you buy them with the computer. So you actually save 25% buying the warranty, cash out of your pocket, when you buy them up front. And of course, if you don't use them, you get your money back. So it kind of works out. Same thing is true of every other computer, though. The failure rates in the first year are very low. Failure rates year 2 and 3 go way up. So if you have a computer that you bought for the pandemic, you're now out of warranty, expect failures. You bought a consumer-grade computer and you used it for work. Consumer-grade computers are designed to be used for consumers. And by a consumer, I mean if you bought a computer during the pandemic, it was meant to be used by grandma to check her email, post a couple things on Facebook, and maybe look up a recipe or 10. If you're running 3 monitors off of it, spreadsheets, emails, databases, multiple online stuff, running a phone system through it, yeah, expect failures. They're going to happen. You pushed it beyond the mechanical expectations of the device. So anyway, they're built for that purpose. Did you know that Christmas lights, there's actually commercial grade Christmas lights you can buy, and there's actually a difference between them? Sometimes people just slap the word commercial on something and it's like, whatever. Like, okay, I went to Lowe's the other day because of all the things in shortage, oven cleaner. Go find oven cleaner. Fun times there. The only place in town that had it was Walmart. Nobody else had oven cleaner. Why does Walmart have everything that nobody else has? Maybe because they have their own trucking firm? I don't know. But I was at Lowe's, and my wife asked me while I was at Lowe's to look for oven cleaner. And I thought, that's weird. But they do have a chemical section. And sure enough, they had oven cleaner. But it was the Easy Off oven cleaner, but it said professional grade on the can. And I'm like, is professional grade? I mean, is this going to require like some kind of extra ventilation? Or my wife was nervous enough about it that she told me not to buy the professional grade, and that we've got the regular Easy Off oven cleaner from Walmart, because it must be safer because it's not professional grade. I strongly suspect those two oven cleaners are exactly the same chemical, maybe a higher concentration, but exactly the same chemical. Professional? I don't know. But Christmas lights, apparently there is actually a heavier gauge wire and a more robust bulb on commercial Christmas lights. If I'd have known that, I'd have been buying commercial Christmas lights for my house all these years rather than repurchasing my lights every 2 years. But apparently they're in shortage right now, so you won't get those anyway. Fun times. Oh, let's see. Connie the cute corgi, Maggie, and I say good morning, says Winston. Connie the cute corgi. I'm like, you're going to be getting in trouble there talking about Connie. Maggie's not going to like that very much, but you explained who Connie was, and now I was like, don't put me in the position. I'm not a secret keeper, Winston. I bought my son gifts for Christmas, and my wife literally complimented me on not letting the cat out of the bag because we had his gift since October, and I have not said a word. And I'm like, the clutch thing here is forgetting you have it, right? That's how you don't talk about it. Oh, excuse me. Oh, the yawns are catching up with me. Good morning, Schrockville. Good morning, Gail. Good morning, Rick. Alrighty, let's see. There's a story about a guy who went to pick up his new Bronco and someone offered him $25,000 more than he paid for it. I haven't fact-checked it, but it won't surprise me. There's a thing with the Broncos, actually. The Bronco, if you get the soft top Bronco, you can get those all day long. Like, they can get one at Baxter like that. But if you want the hard top Bronco, they are, for whatever reason, not getting produced. There's a rumor that Ford's also not producing Super Duty trucks next year, which is going to be huge for my truck because I'm going to sell it. Yay! If they wait too much longer to get my F-150 ready, they're going to be paying me money to give me an F-150. It's going to be crazy. When trading over for the first updated model at the end of the contract, would the price go up? That's a great question. So basically, because it's all formula-based, Aaron's asking about the computer rental idea. If at the end of 2 years, when you're going to get a new computer, it's formula-based, right? So it's 20% of the purchase price of the computer down, and 4% of the purchase price of the computer is the monthly payment. So if the cost of the computer goes up, or you select a different computer, a more powerful computer, for example, yeah, the payments would go up. So over time, the cost of things do tend to go up, except for computers, which tend to actually go down by megahertz. So the price of computers usually is pretty stagnant, but you get a lot more for your money. This is an anomaly right now that's happening where the price of the computers per megahertz or per gigahertz are going up. That's not supposed to happen, but because of the supply shortage it is, and that's not going to be forever. So I wouldn't be too worried about price fluctuation, Aaron, when you go to trade in. But if there was a significant price increase, you could just keep the computer you have. Because remember, as long as you have it with us on the leasing deal, you've got it under warranty. So what do you care if there's a part that's starting to wear out in there? You're going to bring it in for your maintenance checkup, and we're going to say, oh, the power supply is bad, and we're going to replace the power supply, and you're not going to pay anything. That's part of the advantage, because we can't expect you to pay. This is why it's kind of a hybrid between a rent and a lease. If you lease a vehicle and you don't change the oil and you blow up the engine, you have to pay for the engine. If you rent a vehicle and the rental company doesn't change the oil and the engine blows up, you don't have to pay for the engine. So with the computer deal, we're going to provide a warranty that makes sure that everything is operating smoothly. Basically, we're going to make sure that the computer, if it does have a problem, is going to get replaced. You are still responsible for maintenance on the computer. Things like antivirus and maintenance checkups and safe upgrade versions may or may not be included. We're still debating that because we include the Schrock desk along with the rental agreement. So you get the Schrock desk for free along with the computer rental. So if you have questions about the computer, you have access to us as a service providing source. So if you add up everything that you get with the rental deal, you get a phenomenal value over a 2-year period. So that's the idea. It saves customers money. It also allows us to maintain profitability because we are basically renting a computer that we're going to get back. And the parts, when we get them back, we can resell them on eBay if we need to. We can do what we need to do to get some value back out of them to offset the inflation cost of the parts. That's the whole idea. All right. While using Zoom on either my laptop or my desktop, I cannot use virtual backgrounds. It says that my processor is not compatible. I have a hard time believing that. Could something be going on? Alan, what kind of computer? Are you running one of ours? There are some processors that are not going to have the power to green screen. So, for example, I was talking to Raj, and I was like, I had this i7 laptop that died recently. It was running the radio show, and obviously, we're green screening behind me here. In fact, you can see. Did I make a mistake over here? My green screen is off by just a hair. Let me fix that. I didn't notice that during the show. There we go. So now you can see that green screen is being actively replaced by the processor in real time, frame by frame, as we send the video. That is a hugely processor-intensive task. So my 7th gen i7 laptop, at the end of the radio show, it was hot, like really hot. The holiday special laptop I'm using right now to do the radio show, which of course, when I took this one, there was plenty in stock, and now there's not, and now I feel guilt for having one when somebody else might not get one because I have one. But I mean, hey, I've been here 22 years. I get something, right? So holiday special laptop, it's not even warm to the touch. That's the difference between that 10th gen processor and a 7th gen processor. So one generation, you're not going to notice the difference. 3 gens, you're going to notice the difference. So it was pretty phenomenal. So it is possible that your computer's processor doesn't have the horsepower to replace the video frame by frame. It's entirely possible. Video signal keeps hiccuping. Yeah, that's all I can do. Do you low jack your computer? Can you low jack them? Yeah, well, you can, but you can also Google how to remove that stuff. So we've talked about software that would allow us to lock the computers down. We've talked about preloading Schrock desk remote installations in them so that we can access them if we need to. I'm just not big on any of that, Here's the path that we took. I'm just going to be brutally honest with you. We wrote a contract that if you take the computer is so onerous, you're going to owe us so much money that you're not going to take the computer. You're going to turn it in. You're going to bring it back. And then you'll owe less money, but you'll still owe money. Number one, we wanted to write the contract in the event that somebody died, that we were not financially pursuing their estate for computer rental, because that's stupid, right? Number two, we needed to make sure if the computer walked away that so if you rent one of these computers and you walk away, let's just say we get $100 deposit, and the first month is $30 up front, and you pay that the first month up front. So we have $130, and you've just taken a $700 computer out the door. If you get in a car and go to Colorado and never talk to us again, what have we lost? Okay, so we've lost the computer itself. That computer is something that we owned, and it was brand new when you took it. So that's a $700 value. We also lost the value of the payments that you were going to give us over a 2-year period of time. We have also incurred a cost in having to try to collect that money. We had to involve attorneys and everything else. So we wanted to write a contract that if you walk away with one of our computers intentionally is so onerous, because we really, to get even again, right? We have $130 up front. We need like $600 to get even, okay? So that's how little we make on the computers. So all we need is a contract that's worth so much money, maybe $2,000, $3,000, that we could hand it off to a Brumbaugh and Associates or some attorney, some debt collector, and sell them for $400, $600 a ticket. And we are made whole then. We don't really care if they collect the thing or not. You can't come in and pay us again for it because it's not our debt anymore. We sold it. And then they will come after the customer and pursue the customer and go hit bank accounts and do all the nasty debt collector things. I didn't want to become Nebraska Furniture Mart. If you've ever not paid for something from Nebraska Furniture Mart, they are efficient at extracting money that's owed to them, like mafia efficient. I say that tongue in cheek. They're not actually kneecapping people, but they will send the attorneys after you, and they will be merciless. And we're just not a merciless company. We don't have that in our soul. And I don't want to contaminate our corporate soul with that. I don't want to be the company that goes after people. Those Schrock people are ruining my life. I don't want anybody to say that, even if they screwed us over and stole a computer from us. I still don't want them saying that. Because everyone's got a story, right? Everyone's got a story. I'm a victim. Everyone's got a story. So the idea here is we hand it off to a debt collector. The debt collector can do what needs to be done. We don't have to worry about it. We can focus on what we do. So rather than low-jacking it and trying to, what are we going to send a recovery team out to your house? This team of highly trained tactical Schrock Innovations technicians are going to rappel from the Schrock vehicles, crash through your living room window, grab your laptop, and exfiltrate out the door into the van and bring it back to a Schrock service center for decontamination. What are we going to do? We know where it's at. We can call the police. Okay, yeah, they got the laptop. Are they supposed to have it? Yeah, they have a contract. They didn't pay their bill. The police are going to be like, we're not debt collectors. You can take them to court. You can get a court order. They have to give you the computer back. We can enforce the court order, but we're not going to go into their house and take their computer from them because they owe you money. That's not how life works. So what are you going to do? Possession is 9/10. What are you going to do? Well, you make possession undesirable at that point. Yeah, you make it so expensive for them to keep the computer that they're begging to bring it back. And of course, the other side of this too is we reserve the right to relieve any agreements that are made. Sometimes really, really bad stuff happens to people or their families. And if they have to make a decision between a cancer treatment and paying Schrock for a computer, that's stupid. Keep the computer. When things are normal again, make it up to us. We have the ability to do those kind of things. So we preserve that ability, the ability to be a good group of guys and gals, basically, as well as the ability to hand off bad debt to some kneecapping sons of biscuits that will come after you if you steal from us. Yay! Shiny, happy corporate face. Oh, let's see. Gamers will pay for those old metal IBM mechanical keyboards. They will. They want new ones now with LEDs and mechanical keys. The problem with the mechanical keyboards from the old IBMs is they don't jack into USB ports. And most of your motherboards don't come with PS2 ports, so the adapters that take the AT plugs for those old mechanical keyboards down to PS2 plugs won't work on modern motherboards. So you'd have to take one that goes from an AT to a PS2 and a PS2 to a USB adapter, and then you have like a daisy chain of adapters hanging out of the computer that might or might not work. Or you could just buy a really cool RGB lit gaming mechanical keyboard. Okay. Last week you mentioned Pawn to Own. I tried checking into it. The site comes up as a hacker's web rumor, says the site is down. Is this the best site? Let me double check that because I thought I checked it that day too. That service is unavailable. The URL change? I would hate to have recommended something that is not legit. I used the wrong word. Pawn to Own is a competition. Okay, hold on just a second. Let me find the right information. I apologize. HaveIBeenPawn.com. All right. I apologize. I had a mental slip there and gave you the wrong pawned address. So let me get you the right one here. This is where you should go to check that. HaveIBeenPawn.com. And what it will do is you put in your email or phone number. I'm going to try my phone number. I'm going to try that real quick. Go. No pawnage found. Or is it ownage? I don't know. Either way, yay me. Let me put in one of my email addresses. Is this one? Yay! My main personal email address is good. Let me put in my Gmail address. Ooh, 3. Oh my goodness. The Evite got breached in 2019 and exposed my Gmail address and probably password. Mac forums. Yep, got nailed there. The River City Media spam list. A massive trove of data from the River City Media was found exposed online. The data was 1.4 billion records. Oh my gosh. Including email, IP addresses, names, and physical addresses were used in an enormous spam operation. Once deduplicated, there were 393 million unique email addresses. So, yep, email address, IP address, name, and address. And then the share this extension in 2018, date of birth, email address, names, and passwords. So, yep, that's no fun there. And then let me share this one. I know my main my work email. It's been around for 22 years, and that one for sure has been nailed. This is really entertaining radio, isn't it? While I check my own security. Just looking for anything new here. Let's see, how many times? Evite, Adobe, Apollo, the Bitcoin Forum, BTCE, Daily Motion, Elance, Epic, Gravatar, Lead Hunter, Indeed, LinkedIn, MySpace, Bulletin, Verifications.io, and White Pages. Whoo-wee! That email address has been around the block, so it'll tell you all the things that you've been hitting. So I apologize that I got the wrong one there. Did not mean to give you the address for the hacking competition, basically. Not what I intended. Then I just accidentally closed the Facebook window, so I'm reopening that one right now so I can get back to comments here. Okay. Has anyone noticed during the evening news the signal is buffering like a satellite would be during bad weather? My cable provider is Cox. Yeah, we ditched all the cable providers, and honestly, I don't watch hardly any TV news anymore. It's really interesting when you start to look behind the scenes. Like you have MSNBC and CNN and Fox, and they're all different news infotainment for different perspectives or whatever, right? But if you look at the main stories behind everything, there's a little bit of difference in what's covered. For example, CNN or MSNBC still hasn't covered the Jussie Smollett guilty verdict. They have not even talked about it in their primetime coverage. Fox, of course, talked about it. I don't know if CNN did or not. But anyway, they all talked about it when the allegation was made. So now who knows? There's probably a motivation there for that. But when you look at like the main banner headline stories, like when you look at the coronavirus stories, they're all the same. They're all dictated by the same information. They're all expected to report the same thing. When you look at the political stories, they're going to change. Okay, in January, guys, they're changing the definition of the consumer price index again. Guess what? Inflation's going to get better magically in January because they're going to change the way it's measured again. It's not going to change anything. It's just going to change the number that gets printed. So everyone will be like, yay, inflation's lower. And that'll be the headline. Because literally people believe that you can manipulate the media into reporting a narrative long enough that people just begin to believe it. And in the short term, you can do that. It does work. But in the long term, you end up like Venezuela, where nobody believes anything the government says. And pretty much if the government says something, you should believe the opposite of that. And that's rapidly where we're going, where you've got different aspects of our country that don't believe anything the media says because the government's saying things to the media that, when the Biden administration is saying it's the media's fault for not accurately reporting or to not giving them favorable enough coverage. And you got to look back at the Trump years. And I mean, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, I mean, there was like a pitchfork and bonfire for Trump from day one. And Joe Biden has, gotten a lollipop and a baby carriage comparatively. Yeah. I mean, and you can't deny that. That's factual. Like, you can go count the minutes of coverage, and it's factual. You can look at that. But, I don't know. I just stopped watching TV news. I mean, I read the online news a little bit. Well, quite a bit, actually. Different sources, including some that are not explicitly conservative sources. Because, number one, you can learn a lot by what people don't say. Number two, sometimes conservative news sources don't cover stories too. It's infotainment, right? So you could hear about a story, whether you agree with it or not, you could hear about a story that can impact the world around you by reading news sources that are not completely beholden to a political view. Because there is no such thing as an independent news source anymore. because news sources make their money from ads. And people look at a website based on attraction to the website, or they watch a news channel because they identify with either the people or the personas or the programming on that channel. So if you do something that's counter to that loyalty, you lose your audience. And if you lose your audience, you lose your advertisers. And if you lose your advertisers, you don't make money, and you don't have a TV station or a radio station or a newspaper anymore. So anybody who tells you that the advertising department is completely separate from everything else, it's just not possible. Not at the end of the day. You can create some walls of separation so there's not an immediate, like when Mike Lindell pulled his ads from Fox News because they wouldn't air his documentary or whatever that he was going to pay for commercial time for. They didn't want to air that, and so they said no. And he said, well, then I'm pulling my ads, and he did. Well, now he's back on Fox. So there was some separation that they did stand up. So there is some separation between newsroom and advertising, but in mass, when I'm talking about like high-level stuff, eventually it always boils down to dollars at the end of the day. Let's see. Did your sense of smell and taste get better after COVID? I'm assuming it did because you say, oh yeah, I had my taste and smell back in like 4 days. I supplemented with a lot of zinc. I was taking like 400 milligrams of zinc a day. I was taking it twice a day, so I didn't, because you can OD on zinc. I didn't do any of the other stuff. Like the only other thing that I did was extreme taste stuff. So it was encouraged online for people because before COVID, you could lose your sense of taste and smell from a cold as well. So if you did find yourself in that scenario, it was recommended that you eat things on extreme ends of the taste spectrum to give basically your taste buds that workout. So I tried Sour Patch Kids. That was pretty interesting. I thought about trying something with hot sauce on it, but I just I don't know, whatever. But I did try an assortment of sweet, sour. I tried more salty, tangy, things like that. And I was back to normal probably within 5 days. I started to get it back in about 2 days. I could start to get like hints of lemon and things like that, like the extreme taste stuff, like citrusy. But yeah, it only took about 5 days to get it all the way back. Now I'm just congested, so. All right, sign me up. I'll be in the market for a new computer after Christmas. Sounds good, Deborah. Sounds great. All righty. Dean's noticed the same thing at a lumberyard in Millard? Or at the lumberyard district in Millard. Got it. I'm like, at a lumberyard? Good morning from Seattle. How's the lovely Kimberly's breakfast last week? It was outstanding, Bob. It was delicious. Loved it. In fact, I wonder what she's making this morning. Let's see here. Lots of people noticing the signals in the evening are getting spotty. It's weird. Got oven cleaner at Sam's. It's good cleaner. Yeah, we didn't look at Sam's. Because, right or wrong, the thought is, like, if you buy something at Sam's Club, you're going to get, like, a lot of it, right? And so I don't need, like, the backpack spray pump, like, you spray the weeds with, full of oven cleaner. I just wanted one can, So we were looking at all the normal places you buy, like, one can of something. Okay, let's see. When will they come with printers and scanners? That was a great question because if we include a printer, number one, not everybody wants a printer. So we wouldn't include it by default. So then the question became, how do we handle peripherals? So if a customer wants a printer or a monitor or a keyboard and mouse, how do we handle those? Do they get the computer at the rental agreement and they pay cash for everything else? What we decided was, and this is why we have to code this, the entire ticket we can select items on the ticket that are rental agreement items. So for example, a data transfer is not a rental agreement item, it's a labor item. Labor items can't be financed. They have to be paid for. So if you're going to get the rental computer, if it's like $100 down and $30 a month, but you want us to move the information from your current computer onto the rental computer, that's a data transfer you have to pay for. That's a ticket that you have to pay for. You can't just roll that in with the hardware. But as far as everything else, there's no need to buy a warranty, so we don't have to code for that. There's the hardware would all be included in the base price of the computer. Then it's 20% of that plus the additional, the 5% or 4% per month, basically for over a 2-year period. So anyway, so to answer your question, it can include a printer. If you want it to include a printer, you just add a printer. And that's why I said we can customize a lot of this stuff to make it the same experience you get with a regular computer. Alan has a 2019 holiday special laptop and a 2020 Endeavor. Okay, the 2019 holiday special laptop has two different graphic processors in it. One's dedicated, one's non-dedicated. My guess is that your Zoom software is trying to use the non-dedicated graphics card. And as a result, that graphics card is intended for like the bings and bongs and boops of life to conserve battery power. But when something needs to be done, it's going to engage that big graphics card, and that's going to be what does everything else. That should work fine with Zoom. You should be good to go. Same thing with the 2020 Endeavor. You should not have a problem with the 2020 Endeavor handling green screen stuff. So if you are having an issue with that, let us take a look at that and see if we can't get that fixed for you, especially if you're under warranty. Bring us up to date on liquidity mining. All right, Joseph. So liquidity mining. Crypto as a whole this week has been middling. We've seen a couple dips, pretty significant, and we've seen some recoveries from those dips, but all in all, we're in a trading range that's in the sub $50,000 range. I think it's going to get worse before the end of the year. I think it's going to go lower. I don't know. It's just a feeling I have because end of year, as the price gets lower, people who bought Bitcoin at 60,000 can sell Bitcoin at 40,000, book a $20,000 per coin loss, and then buy it right back again. Or better yet, people can sell it at $49,000 and book an $11,000 loss, watch it go down to $42,000 and buy it back there. So basically, they get a pocket full of money with no capital gains on the year. So and we're dealing with institutional investors in the Bitcoin market at this point. So you know that kind of stuff is happening. So as a result, the other thing I'm seeing indications of are that exchanges throughout the year have typically had very small amounts of available Bitcoin on the exchange. This is an indication of a shortage of Bitcoin. Nobody was selling. Nobody was putting it in the exchange to sell it. Miners believed it was going to be worth more tomorrow than today, so they held on to it. Whales thought it would be worth more tomorrow than today, so they held on to it. We're seeing the opposite right now. Coins are moving to the market. Usually that's an indication that there's an intent to sell those coins. If that's the case, it could be end of the year tax planning. Either way, it's going to push the price down. It's going to have a depression effect on pricing. Now, any tweet from Elon can blow this whole thing up. A huge institutional buy would blow this whole thing up, and the price could go up, radically. But I'm expecting things to stay the same or trade somewhere between 40 and 50,000 until the end of the year. You might see 52 or 55. You might see 39, but it's going to stay in that range. After that, who knows what's going to happen next year. So as far as liquidity mining goes, it's been really interesting. We've had the Bitcoin drops in the past, 20, 30% drops. It has not been a 20 or 30% impact on liquidity mining. Because half of your money when you're liquidity mining half of my money is in stable coins. I don't do the Ethereum Bitcoin pair, so it's all in crypto. Some of it's in stable coin. So that way, if there's a 30% drop in the market, my exposure is like 15%, right? I see lower drops, but I also don't see the outsized returns that you can get on the upside. But when you're at a market that's near highs and the fear gauge is at maximum fear, because everyone's like, this can't go on forever, or maximum greed, I said it's at maximum greed because everybody wants more and they think the price is going to go up, that makes me scared. So I'm okay to be half in stable coins. And so my drop has not been significant. I think my top peak for my account, I started with 16,000. I think I got to 40,200. And now I'm back down at like 35,900, somewhere in there, 35,900, which isn't bad considering the price of Bitcoin and the other cryptos has dropped, over 30%. Great. The thing that is concerning me is I am seeing less trading because the prices are depressed. Nobody wants to trade at a loss. None of the normal retail people want to do. And when you're dealing with an exchange, most of those are retail people. They don't want to book a loss. They're going to sit tight. It's going to go back up. So I went from doing a couple $100 a day in interest in fees, basically for providing liquidity, down to $90 a day. So that's been a pretty significant dip. So that was a little concerning to see that go down because you need $200 to buy to put more money in, basically. So now I have to go 3 days before I can add money back in and reinvest my returns, which I'd rather reinvest them daily so they compound daily rather than every 3 days for obvious reasons. So long story short, too late, I know. I looked at what coins were doing well because I thought maybe I'm just in the wrong coins. Maybe I've just got a bunch of dogs here and I'm just missing some opportunity. The top 7 pairs for 7-day average APR return were Bitcoin, Ethereum pairs. People trading only crypto. And I don't want to trade only crypto because I want to be a little safer. I want to be a little more conservative in a market that is wildly risky. Being a little more, this is like, I want to play Russian roulette with a 6-shot revolver with 5 bullets in it, or do I want to play with 3? Thor's more of the 3-bullet guy, okay? 50-50, let's say. So to suggest that this is a safe way to do crypto is ridiculous. There is no safe way to do crypto. Crypto is a new asset. It is incredibly risky. It is incredibly volatile. You can make a ridiculous amount of money. I mean, $900 in a day on SHIB. Stupid SHIB coin. No, it's not going to ever be anything. It's SHIB. Never going to go to a penny. But it went from like a tiny, tiny fraction of a penny to a slightly larger, tiny fraction of a penny, and I had 36 million of them. So I made $900. And I said to myself, you know what? I was at a point where I'd made like $1,300, and then I kept holding, and I kept holding, and it kept going down. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to take my $900 and be happy with $900 for a day's work. I think that's a good move to make. That's a smart move. That's a normal investment move to make. Take my extra off the table, keep my initial investment in there. If it goes crazy, I'll be happy. If it goes to zero, I made my $900. I'm good. So anyway, with liquidity mining, I'm seeing slower returns, but I am still seeing positive returns. I am seeing the value of my capital go down as the price of coins go down, but because half my money is in stablecoin, I'm not being hit as hard as if I was in all Bitcoin or all Ethereum. So, knowing that we're going to find a trading range eventually, and the longer we stay in that range, the more retail people are going to buy in at that range, which means that we're going to be willing to sell as the range goes up. I think what this is setting up is going to be the next leg of large liquidity mining gains going forward. The question is, when will that leg start? I have no idea. All I know is I'm going to keep reinvesting. I've got my initial investment in there. I'm going to keep reinvesting the proceeds. Because, if I project the current rate going forward, it's worth $100,000 a year from today. That's not bad from a $16,000 investment in a 15-month period. That's phenomenal, actually. So that's what I'm doing with crypto. So I guess if you have any specific questions about any of that, feel free to fire away. Will rental computers have Sophos installed by you? They will not come with Sophos. You get to choose if you want Sophos or not. And we're debating internally whether that's going to be a separate subscription, because we're basically creating 2 classes of Sophos customers if we do that. We have the class that is the people who can cancel anytime they want, and there's the people who are locked in for 2 years. How do you value somebody who's locked into Sophos for 2 years when it's an annual subscription? It's not $160, right? It's $160 plus the $70 renewal price. So it's $240 for a 2-year subscription to Sophos, and that is what your 4% is calculated on. So you're going to pay a higher amount over the... See, it gets complicated. So it's actually financially advantageous to the customer to allow the customer the choice of antivirus software. They can choose what they want, and we will not roll it in. It's going to be a separate subscription. You get to keep your money in your pocket long. You'll pay the same amount over time, but you keep the money in your pocket longer, which is the time value of money. You want to do that in everything you do. You always want to pay your bills at the last minute, right? So keep the money in your pocket. It's better for you as a customer. It doesn't matter to us when we receive it. We're going to receive it when we receive it, right? So whether we get 4% every month as a small portion of another payment, or whether we get 2 installments, one each year, doesn't matter to us. So I think we're at the point where we want to say, let's keep it simple in the beginning, and software can't be rolled in. Exceptions to that. What if you want to upgrade the computer from Microsoft Windows 11 Home to Windows 11 Professional? Well, that license is tied to the computer, right? So it's tied to the motherboard, so it's part of the computer, so that should be included. What if you want to add Microsoft Office? That license is actually tied to you personally, to your Microsoft account. Therefore, we can never reclaim that license. Therefore, we can't finance that. That's something that has to be paid individually at the time of purchase. So it gets a little complicated. There's going to be some things that we can include and some things we can't. But the gist of it is no subscriptions, no software, aside from Windows versions, and all hardware is included. So there you go. Let's see. What about transferring the lease to somebody else or allowing someone to start a lease with a system that you had to bring back, starting a lease with a system you had to bring back? Okay, so transferring a lease, I don't think we have a mechanism in place for transferring the lease because it's not a lease. That's the problem. Call it a lease, then we have all kinds of legal requirements. So it's not a lease. It's a rental. Technically, under the law, this is a rental agreement with a term. So just like if you rent a house and you want to sublet the house, we don't have a subleasing agreement in here with the computer. We, again, keep it simple. Because the computer is tied to you in our systems, the computer is going to be tied to you in every system we have. Then all of a sudden the you changes, and our system isn't coded for that. We'd have to assign the computer a new number, which would invalidate the agreement. It would make a mess of it, right? And then we'd have two contracts on the same computer, and we're not designed for that either. So in the KISS principle, if you sign the rental agreement, you're on the hook for it. If you want to sublease it to somebody else and collect payments from somebody else and pay us, fine by me. Fine by me. I don't care who's using the computer, is I guess where I'm getting with this. As far as allowing someone to start a lease with a system that gets brought back. So when the systems get brought back into Schrock, there is some debate on what we're going to do with the systems. Obviously, laptops can't really be resourced back out to people. They get scratched, they get dented, they get wear and tear, the nastiness, they're high-touch surfaces. Nobody really wants that right now. So they'll probably just get resold either as Schrock certified. We might dip into the used market here a little bit with like a Schrock certified used. So it's the same laptops that we normally sell, so we have access to all the spare parts, and we can basically replace everything inside and then have a used shell with a new computer inside. That's a possibility. We could just sell them on eBay, sell them on Facebook Marketplace, get rid of them without any expectation of support. The third thing that we can do, especially with desktops, is we can change the exterior of the computer. So think on a desktop, when you turn it back into us, we're not going to reuse the power supply because that, as I mentioned, that one wears out. So we're going to get rid of that. What else in the computer wears out? The solid state drive would probably be a good thing to replace just to be safe. The motherboard doesn't wear out. The processor very rarely wears out. Wi-Fi card worn out? No. Memory worn out? No. We tested it all. It's all good. And if we reissue those parts to somebody, they get a warranty on the parts. So it's not like you can never buy these computers. You never own them. So there's not a buyout option at the end because that would make it a lease. So it's a rental. Well, we could give you a brand new looking computer that consists of components inside the computer that were pulled from a previous build. That's one possibility. Or the other possibility is we could literally create a refurbished line of computers. So there's a lot of different ways that we can handle this, but the number one thing that we have to make sure of is, number one, there's no downtime for people, or as little downtime as possible. If we do resource a part from a computer, it would be something like a processor, something that is a high-cost item, that is in short supply, that doesn't go bad. We're not going to do that with power supplies or fans or anything like that. That's going to cause our hard drives. It's going to cause an issue. All right. Looks like you have antennas sticking out of my head. Oh, okay. Let's see. Can I use APC Backup 425 on an upright freezer to help during a power outage? A 425 will probably run the freezer. It probably won't start the motor. Because with appliances like that, the cold, well, we call it on a truck, your cold crank amps. When you start an appliance, it always takes a surge of energy to get it started and then not to run it. So, for example, the Schrock household, we are installing what's called a generator interlock. So the idea here is, I got all the parts. I'm not going to do it myself. I'm going to have an electrician do it. But you put a breaker on the panel that goes to an outlet outside the house. That's where you hook up your generator and you plug it into that outlet. You turn off all the breakers in the house, and there's a piece of metal that prevents you from turning on the external generator breaker while you have the main power turned on. so you're not going to backfeed to the grid and kill a worker on a utility pole or something stupid. So anyway, you turn off the main, you turn off all the breakers, you turn on the generator breaker from the exterior, you fire up the generator. So that generator is now providing power to the entire panel through that 30 amp breaker. So now you have 30 amps of power to use in the house, which consequently is the limit for most residential generators. So now you can choose which circuits to turn on. If you turn on your air conditioner, you're going to overwhelm the generator. It's not going to run. You're going to damage something. It's not enough power to run an air conditioner. But it is enough power to run a heater, because the heater is just a fan. It's the natural gas that's burning. So it's not actually, an electric heater wouldn't have enough power. So what circuits would you want to turn on? You want to turn on circuits that have appliances, so the kitchen circuit gets turned on, the freezers get turned on, the heater circuit gets turned on, but all the other circuits through the house, they get left off to prevent power drain. The problem is you have to turn the circuits on one at a time. The whole reason I'm saying this is if you literally have all the circuits on and you fire up the generator outside and you're like, hello, generator, everything in the house comes on at one time and the generator's like, whoa, it just can't do it. So if you are a little gentle with it, you can get everything. So kind of like that Apollo 13 scene where they're trying to figure out the order. They have to turn things on and to use the lowest number of amps. It's the exact same thing, but in a house. And I would recommend, guys, the interlock parts for this whole kit, I had to buy a 25-foot cord. And the only reason I got the 25-foot cord is so we could put the generator on the deck if we wanted to secure it better. If we needed to chain it to something, we could. That's if it was going to be outside for days and days. Number two, the interlock switch set was like $38. The outlet for the exterior house was like $60 for a weatherproof outlet for the outside of the house. I'm sure the installation is what's going to get me on this, but the total parts were about $150. And if you have a generator at home already, like one of those little portable ones, like what we have, and we've used it in outages before, like if a tornado or something hits, you've got one of these generators, you can just wire it up and go. But wouldn't it be nice if you had a plug on the outside of the house you could just plug the generator into, and then you could choose what circuits in the house to turn on. You're not running extension cords through the house. You're not worried about fumes in the garage. You're not worried about any of these things. You can run whatever you want. The kids can have their gaming stuff. You could just live in your house, albeit with fewer circuits, but you could live in the house. Want to run a fan? You just plug it into a power outlet. Like always, turn on the fan. I mean, wouldn't that be awesome? That's what we want to do. Let's see. Hi, Lee. I love hearing you type on the keys. Yeah, you're a former typing teacher, but you're just lucky you can't see me typing on the keys because I don't hunt and peck. I do not hunt and peck. There is no hunting involved. I can peck very fast. I know exactly where the keys are at. Just check my old Yahoo email, 25 years old, 12 breaches. Yeah. Oh, CNN's not covering the Maxwell story either. They're not covering that. How do you not cover that story? Holy cow. It'll be interesting to see if the Trump news is honest. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the Trump media thing. I don't know. Let's just say there's two types of entrepreneurs in the world. Elon is very good at hype and very good at selling, as is Trump. Now, Trump actually finishes buildings, and Elon makes cars. It's hilarious because there's a news story. This is what I mean by the corporate media. The news story. Elon comes out against Joe Biden, says that there shouldn't be any subsidies for electric cars at all. That's the news story, right? Elon is against the federal government. He's against Joe Biden. Stick it to him, Joe. That's not what Elon was saying. Yes, it's true that Elon and the Biden administration don't necessarily get along, but the Build Back Better plan does provide electric vehicle tax credits, which is what built Elon's entire business, which allowed people to afford Teslas when they were ridiculously priced. Unfortunately, it only provides EV credits for electric vehicles built at unionized factories. Elon's not unionized. So no Tesla credits for you, my friend. And that's why he's opposed to the Build Back Better plan. There you go. So that's the full truth. I would rather have a news story tell me the full truth, because it's possible for both things to be true at the same time, right? And then now you understand why he's saying what he's saying, which is as important as what he's saying. But instead, you just get the headline, Elon hates Joe Biden, and people on the right are like, yay, Elon, and people on the left are like, I'm never driving my Tesla again. And you're just like, come on. But it'll be interesting to see the product that comes out, whatever that product is, whether it's a social media company. Why did Jack leave Twitter right now? I've been thinking a lot about this. So you've got Twitter, and whenever Jack Dorsey was testifying or doing anything, he always looked like, I don't want to be here. Like, you guys, this is stupid. He's got a super profitable cash cow company called Square, now Block, making tons of money. It's going to dabble in the crypto space. It's exciting stuff, fun stuff. Who would rather sit and go through a congressional testimony on Zoom or trade cryptocurrencies in their spare time? You know, which is more exciting, right? Which is more fun? Which has more interest for the average person? You know, sometimes some people might be a little, I don't know. But for Jack, he's a crypto guy, and he loves cryptocurrency. So he would definitely choose the crypto over the testimony. How do you think this is going to end for social media? Everybody knows the Republicans are probably, unless something dramatically changes in the next year, are going to take a lot of power back in the midterm election, and then we'll see what happens after that. What do you think is going to happen to Twitter when that happens? When all the people that you censored are suddenly back? Are you going to say, whoopsie? Or is Section 230 gone? And now it's going to be really, really hard to make money. Twitter was having a hard enough time making money to begin with. Or what about Facebook? Why are they rebranding to Meta all of a sudden? It's almost like all the social media companies see something coming, and they're trying to extend their brand either beyond social media, like Meta, or companies like Twitter, where Jack has no idea what to do with Twitter next because it's just Twitter. You tweet. It's Twitter. What do you do next? It's like the baking soda. Like, no one uses baking soda anymore. Hey, look, it deodorizes the fridge. It doesn't even deodorize things. So maybe Jack is just moving on and saying, you know, I think now is a good time for me to get out. And now I'm not an executive, so I can sell my stock whenever I want. I don't have to fill out these forms. I can head up my big old company here that's on the cutting edge of some crypto tech that could really be the next big thing. And it excites me and makes me want to get out of bed in the morning. You've got Elon, who's selling tons of stock right now because he'll give you all kinds of excuses, but he knows it's a top. We're on a top here in the market. And could it go higher? Yeah. He's not selling all of his stock, but he's at a top. He's going to cash out. He's going to get something for the years and years of work he's put in. Nothing wrong with that. Now, he might be saying it's about a Twitter poll or whatever else. He's going to sell some stock. Okay, great. So he sells some stock. Why are all these people doing this right now? Elon said the other day he was thinking about quitting his job. He's like, man, I work from, when I get up to when I go to bed 7 days a week. If you didn't know this, he has Asperger's, so which is why sometimes he has difficulty communicating in empathetic ways. Sometimes he comes off as a little harsh. Like somebody had to explain. I read his biography, and at one point in his development, somebody had to explain to him that you had to account for time for people to like go to the bathroom and not be at their desk. Because Elon didn't understand, if there are 24 hours in a day and you require 8 hours of sleep, why can't you work all of the other hours? And if we think it's going to take 20 hours to finish this project and you can put 18 hours a day in, you should finish this project in a day and a few hours. And he was disappointed with his people because it never could get done on time. He would always be late. That's because the way Elon counts time is different. He doesn't understand that someone's going to get frustrated and have a bad day and go to the bathroom and just sit in the toilet on their phone for a half an hour at work while they're getting paid. And that's going to happen from time to time. Or that somebody's going to be feeling under the weather and only working at 50% capacity. He doesn't account for that. So somebody had to actually tell him that. So anyway, what I'm getting at here is I think Jack left because he sees the writing on the wall for social media as it exists today. The social media is a mature industry. MySpace was king of the hill, right? Who's going to ever dethrone MySpace? Well, now privacy is the thing, right? And social media companies can't make money if everybody values privacy. Social media is the antithesis of privacy. Money can't be made in a world where everything is encrypted and everything is anonymized, and Apple doesn't allow advertising IDs, and Google's going to do the same thing. You just can't make the money. Not the way they used to. So Twitter is going to have problems making money in the first place. Now it's going to get harder. Maybe Jack says now's the time to go. Meta's going to have trouble making money, so Meta needs a whole new environment to introduce people to so they can make money. So here's the metaverse. Yay! There's reasons these things are happening right now. So I'm not sure that it would be wise for Trump to start a social media company. I think he would be much better off starting a news organization that maybe has some social media components to it, maybe has some YouTube-like video sharing component to it, maybe has an actual newsroom component to it, kind of like Blaze TV tried to do. I think it would be better to do that. But that's just me. Then how does that organization cover Trump during his election? Is that news organization going to be censored? Are they going to be granted press credentials, for example? It's really going to be an interesting thing to see. Bloomberg got to keep his press credentials when he was running, but he would, I don't know. If it was fair, it'd be easy. All right, let's see. I like radio news, is right to the point, and it's done. I love KFAB radio. They do a good job. Did you mention a method to stop scam phone calls? The only thing you can do for scam calls is to add your number to the National Do Not Call Registry. Something that you might keep in mind is that every 2 years you have to re-up your entry there. You have to go back and do it again because they account for people's phones like changing hands. So if you haven't done that in a couple of years, you should do it. Also, it does not count. The Do Not Call line does not work for business phone numbers. So if you have a cell phone that you use for business purposes ever, they'll still call that phone all the time. I get calls all the time. It's ridiculous. There's a simple fax service that you can use to fax on my computer. Oh, there's a million of them out there. Let's say eFax. I think eFax is actually one of them. Yeah, efax.com is one. I haven't used one in years. We used to have a subscription to one. It was like $10 a month. But that could have changed since then. But yeah, eFax is one. There's tons of them that allow you to basically not only fax from your computer, but fax from your phone. How it works is you send an email. So you send an email to like the phone number, 1402 blah, 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 at efax.com. And then whatever the attachment is in the email gets sent as a fax. So, and then the cover page is your actual email, and the attachment is the faxed message. So it works out pretty slick, actually, if you need to fax. Yeah, Aaron, the menu for the rental thing is going to be everything in the store. Like you can add anything. You can double the memory in the computer. You can change the processor. You can add speakers. You can do whatever you want. All right, now the desktop holiday special. Now are the desktop holiday specials? I ordered it on Wednesday. I know they're still building. We have the parts. So when I say they're coming along, we have parts. We have parts. We know we have them. We have some that are not sold. We have additional parts continuing to come in. So as a result, I would tend to think that yours is going to be completed pretty quickly. But Kevin, I will shoot an email over to Papillion to see kind of how that goes and make sure they get you an update. Alrighty. Is this a general generator you installed? No, it's not like a great big generator. It's literally like a little portable contractor generator. It's got like 7,000 amps or something like that. Or 7,000 watts, excuse me, 7,000 watts. 7,000 amps would be awesome. 7,000 watts. It's definitely not a generator that you'd want to run the house for from days and days and days. It's not an apocalypse generator or anything, but it has come in clutch on the times when we've had power outages for 2 days at a time, 2.5, 3 days at a time. It's happened 3 times in the last decade at my house. So the ability to keep the freezers going, to get a screen in front of the kids to keep them occupied if you need to, and to recharge batteries, keep fans going, things like that. It's been a godsend. If Trump media does well, can Trump run for president? That's an interesting question. I don't know. Winston says, great explanation about battery backup and generator interlock. Yeah, the interlock is actually a really cheap thing. It's a tiny piece of metal that just prevents you from being a stupid monkey and turning on both switches at the same time. I'm going to tour SpaceX tomorrow. Oh, I'm so jealous, Kirk. I'd love to tour SpaceX. Register every 2 years for Do Not Call. It would be nice if we did that with voting. Boom, boom, boom. Ron with the win. All right, on that note, guys, we got to wrap it up. Thank you for joining us for the Aftershock today. I appreciate it. Lighter listenership today, if you noticed that on Facebook during the main program. We also had no calls during the show whatsoever, and only about 45 people watching. So people are apparently traveling, I'm guessing, or finding other things to do this morning. Sleep might be high on the agenda. I might take a nap myself a little bit later. But thank you for joining us. I appreciate you being here for the show. We'll talk to you all again next weekend. Have a great week.